Self-made billionaires don't rely on vague New Year's resolutions. Instead, they operate in 90-day cycles.
They absolutely do.
We analyze the planning systems of tech titans,
Yeah.
the people building rockets and completely restructuring the internet. And we found this really common quarterly sprint ritual.
Right. It takes maybe one afternoon every 3 months, but it provides extreme clarity. It completely changes the physics of how you view your own progress.
In the next 20 minutes, you're going to learn exactly how to apply this 5-step ritual to your own life.
Because we hear about these billionaire routines all the time, right? Waking up at 4 a.m., taking ice baths.
Oh yeah, the hustle culture stuff. I'm
Yeah.
always a bit skeptical.
Exactly. But what we are looking at today in this deep dive isn't about working more. It's about a fundamental flaw in how humans perceive time. It's about fixing the broken calendar we all use.
So let's start with the diagnosis, the core problem. Why do most of us fail our annual goals? I mean, I feel like I start January with this massive bonfire of motivation. I buy the planner, I get the gym membership, I'm totally fired up.
And by mid-February,
I'm staring at cold ash.
that is the universal experience. And the diagnosis for why this happens is actually really counterintuitive. Most people think they fail because the goal was too big.
Like, I tried to lose 50 pounds, or I tried to double my revenue.
Right. But the data suggests the size of the goal isn't the real issue. The issue is the length of the feedback loop.
Okay, feedback loop sounds a bit engineering heavy. Can you unpack that for us?
Sure. Think about it this way. You set a goal in January with a deadline of December 31st. That is a 12-month horizon.
Yeah, a whole year.
Right. So in February, you have absolutely zero urgency because the finish line is invisible. It's way over the horizon. You have no system for course correction because the deadline is too far away to trigger your brain's panic response.
I see. It's like drawing back a bow and firing an arrow at a target that is a mile away in thick fog.
Yes. Perfect metaphor.
You release the arrow, and you literally don't find out if you hit or missed for 12 entire months.
Exactly. And by the time the fog clears and you realize you missed, the year is over. You spent a whole year just drifting slightly to the left.
Wow. Yeah.
Compare that to a 90-day cycle. You can see the target. It's right there in front of you. If your arrow is drifting off track in week 2, you feel it immediately.
The gap between your plan and reality is small enough that you can actually bridge it.
It's about compressing the time frame to force clarity. You just can't lie to yourself for 90 days the way you can for 365.
Because 90 days is long enough to make real progress, but short enough that you can't afford to waste a single week.
That's the secret.
Okay, that makes total sense. It creates this synthetic urgency. So that's the diagnosis. The feedback loops are too long. Now, let's move to the solution list. We have 5 habits we need to cover.
Right, let's get into it.
Which brings us to habit 1, structure. And the notes call this the rule of 3.
Yeah, and I'll warn you now, this is the hardest habit for high achievers.
Why is that?
Because the rule states you must pick only 3 major objectives for the next 90 days. And here's the kicker. You must explicitly ignore the rest.
Only 3. See, that's where I think a lot of us get stuck. I have a job, a side hustle, a family. I want to get fit. I want to learn Spanish.
And that is exactly why you're stuck.
But I can't just ignore the other 7 things on my list. Life doesn't stop just because I bought a 90-day planner.
You aren't ignoring them forever. You are putting them in maintenance mode. There's a huge difference between a goal and a chore.
Maintenance mode, okay.
A goal requires high creative energy. You can only sustain that kind of output for about 3 things at a time before you suffer from what psychologists call cognitive fragmentation.
Cognitive fragmentation.
It's when your attention is split so many times that you literally lose the ability to do deep work. Every time you switch contexts, like going from Spanish to coding to fitness, you pay a switching tax in your brain.
So if you have 10 priorities, you effectively have 0 priorities.
Did you know the word priority actually came into the English language as a singular noun?
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah, it entered the language in the 1400s. It meant the first thing, the very first thing. And it stayed singular for 500 years.
Wow.
It wasn't until the 1900s, right around the Industrial Revolution, that we pluralized it to priorities.
We literally broke the word to make ourselves feel better about multitasking.
Precisely. We deluded ourselves into thinking we could have multiple first things.
That's fascinating.
The quarterly sprint demands you identify the 3 objectives that will actually move the needle. Everything else goes on a not now list.
It's almost liberating, though, because you aren't saying no, you're just saying not this quarter.
Exactly. You channel your limited supply of revolution energy into just 3 arrows.
Okay, we have our top 3. But are we ready to start? That brings us to habit 2, friction, or resource allocation.
This is where most people trip up. They start running before they've tied their shoes.
This gets to that Abraham Lincoln quote, right? About the axe.
Yes. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe.
It's a cliche for a reason.
But nobody actually does it. Most people define a goal, say, I'm going to launch a video channel, and on day 1, they sit down to record.
And suddenly they realize they don't have a good microphone.
Yeah.
Or their software needs a massive update. Or the lighting is terrible.
Right. And that initial burst of dopamine hits a brick wall of logistics. We call that friction.
Friction is the enemy of momentum.
Completely. When you hit friction on day 1, your brain immediately looks for an exit ramp. You think, this is too hard right now. I'll just do it tomorrow.
And the sprint dies right there on day 1.
Exactly. So habit 2 is about aggressive prep. It's spending the week before the quarter starts asking the boring logistical questions.
Like, do I have the budget? Do I have the right tools? Is my team actually briefed on this?
Is the childcare sorted out? Whatever it takes. You are designing an environment where success is the path of least resistance.
You want to make it harder to not do the work than to just do it.
Imagine the sensory difference here. Visualize hacking away at a thick tree trunk with a dull, rusty blade. The metal bounces off the bark, your hands are blistering, you're sweating, and you're getting absolutely nowhere.
That sounds miserable.
It is. Now compare that to spending the first hour sitting quietly, sharpening the steel until it's razor sharp. When you finally take a swing, the blade just glides through the wood.
It bites right in. That image really sticks. You're front-loading the pain so the actual work feels effortless.
You are removing the excuses before they can even form in your mind.
Okay, habit 1 was structure. Habit 2 was friction. Now let's talk about habit 3, optimization, also known as the kill list.
This is my favorite part, but it's definitely the most painful for people to actually execute.
Optimization is subtraction. That's the one-liner here, right?
Optimization is subtraction. We live in an age of constant accumulation. We accumulate subscriptions, meetings, good ideas, endless obligations. Habit 3 is about the necessary ruthlessness of subtraction.
But practically, what does that look like? Am I firing clients? Am I canceling projects?
Maybe. You need to look at your calendar and ask yourself a very direct prompt. What project is dragging me down? Then you delete it, you kill it.
But what if I already spent 6 months on that project?
Yeah.
That sunk cost fallacy kicks in really hard. I mean, I don't want to admit that time was wasted.
That is the ultimate trap. We hold on to these zombie projects that just eat our brains purely because we started them a long time ago.
If I delete it now, wasn't the last 6 months for nothing?
Here is the harsh truth. The time is already gone. You cannot get those 6 months back.
Right.
The only question that matters now is, do you want to throw the next 3 months into the exact same pit?
Ouch. Put that way, it seems obvious. But emotionally, I know that's tough to do.
It is tough. But if a project consumes 20% of your energy and contributes 0% to your rule of 3 goals, it is dead weight.
It is literally anchoring you to the past.
It's like hoarding. You can't bring beautiful new furniture into a house that's already filled to the ceiling with junk. You have to clear the floor space first.
You have to kill the good to make room for the great.
If you don't have a kill list, your calendar will naturally fill up with other people's priorities. This step is about reclaiming your territory.
Okay, so we've sharpened the axe, and we've deleted the clutter. Now for the mental game. We're moving from logistics to mindset. That brings us to habit 4, mental clearing.
Yes, the letter to future self.
Now, I'll be honest, when I first saw this in the research, I rolled my eyes a bit. It sounds a little, I don't know, Dear Diary.
It can definitely feel that way at first glance.
Yeah, it feels a bit soft for a billionaire productivity strategy.
I get that, but it's actually a high-performance visualization tool. Elite athletes use it, top CEOs use it. It's not about wishing for things, it's about priming your brain.
So what is the actual action step?
You write a physical letter to yourself, dated exactly 90 days from now.
So if it's January 1st, you date the letter March 31st.
Correct. And you describe, strictly in the past tense, what you just accomplished.
Like, wow, I'm so proud that we hit that revenue target.
Exactly. But here is the critical part. You don't just write about the wins, you write about the obstacles.
Oh, really?
Yes. You write, it was really hard when we ran into that massive supply chain issue in February, but we solved it by doing X, Y, and Z.
So you aren't just manifesting a perfect scenario. You're actually writing down the problems you know are coming.
It's called a premortem. You are anticipating the things that will inevitably go wrong, the supply chain delays, your own laziness, the unexpected budget cuts, and you are writing the script of how you solve them.
You're mentally rehearsing resilience.
You are telling your brain there will be problems and here is exactly how I handled them. It turns the anxiety of the unknown into a concrete plan of action.
So when you actually hit that wall in February, you don't panic.
Right, your brain goes, oh, I remember this. I already solved this in the letter.
That is incredibly powerful. It anchors your brain in the success state before you've even started. It clears the doubt before you begin.
It aligns your subconscious with your conscious goals. It's the difference between hoping you win and knowing you've already played the game and won.
Wow. All right, we are down to the final habit. This is the authority anchor used by the biggest names in tech.
Habit 5, leverage.
Right. And specifically, trend analysis. We're talking about figures like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk.
These guys don't just ask, what do I want? They ask, what is the world doing?
They're checking the weather before they set sail.
Exactly. Most people plan in a total vacuum. They sit in their home office and say, I want to start a business selling typewriters.
But they don't look out the window to see that everyone is buying laptops.
Right. The key insight here is context. Think of it like swimming in the ocean.
Okay, let's hear the sensory metaphor for this one.
If you want to swim a mile, you can be the strongest, fittest swimmer in the entire world. But if you are swimming directly against a rip current, you are going to exhaust yourself and drown.
The resistance is just too high.
But if you swim with the current, you break world records with half the effort.
So trend analysis is simply finding the ocean current.
It's about finding leverage. Don't just look inward at your goals. Spend time learning the context for your goals. If you align your 90-day sprint with a macro trend, say the rise of artificial intelligence or the massive shift to remote work, you get a tailwind.
Your effort is basically multiplied by market forces.
Yes.
For the listener right now, this doesn't mean you have to be some global macroeconomist, right?
Not at all. You don't need a Bloomberg terminal on your desk.
Good.
It just means before you lock in your 90-day plan, spend one afternoon reading up on your specific industry. See what's changing. Ask yourself, am I positioning my 3 goals where the ball is actually going to be?
That is the true difference between working hard and working smart. All right, let's bring this all together. We've covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
Let's do a quick GPS recap before we hit the listener with their challenge for the weekend.
Sounds good.
We started with the diagnosis. Annual goals fail because the feedback loop is way too long. We need 90-day cycles to create synthetic urgency and clarity.
Then we hit habit 1, structure, the rule of 3. Pick only 3 major objectives and explicitly ignore the rest to avoid cognitive fragmentation.
Habit 2 was friction, sharpen the axe. Do you have the budget, tools, and team ready before you start?
Habit 3 was optimization, the kill list. Ask what project is dragging you down and delete it, because optimization is subtraction.
Habit 4 was mental clearing, the letter to future self. Write that letter 90 days out to visualize the outcome and mentally rehearse the obstacles.
And finally, habit 5, leverage, trend analysis. Study the market context so you can swim with the current, not against it.
That is a rock-solid toolkit. It's simple, but it's definitely not easy. It requires discipline.
Mostly, it requires stopping. That's the hardest part for people. It requires stopping the busy work for one single afternoon to actually plan.
Most of us are too busy chopping wood with a rusty axe to stop and sharpen the blade.
Precisely. Which brings us to the final call to action from our source material.
We promise you'd know exactly what to do, so what's the challenge?
If you want your best year ever, completely forget January 1st. Forget whatever month the calendar says it is right now.
Just ignore it.
Yes. I challenge you to sit down this weekend and map out your next 90-day sprint.
Just block out one afternoon.
One afternoon. Go through these 5 steps. Pick your 3 goals. Sharpen your axe. Kill the zombie projects. Write the letter. Check the trends.
Treat this coming weekend as your new year.
Exactly. Take control of the cycle.
I love that. And I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over. This wasn't explicitly in the habits, but it's the mathematical reality of this entire system.
Oh, the multiplier effect.
Yes. Think about this. If billionaires operate in 90-day cycles and you adopt this system, that means you get 4 new years every single year.
4 fresh starts.
You get 4 chances to reset, 4 chances to learn from your mistakes and pivot, and 4 times the speed of execution.
While most people are drifting in the fog for 12 months waiting to reset, You are course correcting every 12 weeks.
Imagine what you could do. Imagine the sheer distance you could cover if you gave yourself that same structural advantage.
You're essentially living 4 years of productive life in the time it takes everyone else to live one.
So grab a notebook, block out your Sunday afternoon, and design your first sprint. This has been a fantastic session.
It really has. Happy planning, everyone.
You've made it this far, so why stop now? There are 2 videos on your screen right now that are perfect for you. Just pick the one that looks most interesting and let's dive back in.